This is a Eurofar review of Sushi Go, the super fast sushi card game by Phil Walker Harding. This is a, well, as the subtitle suggests, it's a quick filler game which involves drafting in a similar manner to games like Notre Dame or Among the Stars or most notably probably Seven Wonders, although this is a much simpler game. This is that drafting mechanic really pared down to its bare bones. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say this is one of the most accurately thematic games around, in that the cards, as they're passed around the table, they beautifully convey that sort of conveyor belt that you see in fast food sushi restaurants. So the sushi goes round and round in circles and you grab the pieces that you want and place them in front of you. It's got this lovely, cute sushi artwork on it. It's a small package, so it easily fits in a pocket, so it can be taken around to bars or taken to work to play in your lunch hour, or it's a very accessible, easy to teach. It's cute. The theme makes sense, and all in all, it's quite a nice little package. So I'm going to show you how the game works, and then I'll tell you what I think about it. Sushi Go is played with between 2 and 5 players. And at the start of the game, with 2 players, you'd start with 10 cards in your hand, with 3 players 9 cards, 4 players 8 cards. Here I've got 7 cards, so we're set up as for a 5-player game. In your hand, you will have a bunch of different sushi-related cards, and each of them scores you points in different ways. So your most basic card would be something like your egg nigiri. This gives you 1 point. So on your turn, you could play that card in front of you. You would then pass your entire hand of cards round to the player to the left, and every player would do the same. So you'd end up with a complete new hand of cards passed to you from the player on your right, except now you'd only have 6. Okay, then, and the game continues like that until you have 7 cards on the table in front of you. 7 cards in a 5-player game, it would be a different number for different player counts. Now, these cards start to interact with each other in certain ways. So I mentioned that the egg nigiri is worth 1 point. If I had previously played wasabi on the table, so if I put wasabi on the table like this, then the next nigiri will be worth 3 times as much as it normally is. So wasabi scores you no points on its own, but if I dip egg nigiri in it, now I have 3 points, 1 times 3. If I dipped salmon nigiri in it, it would be 6 points, because salmon nigiri is more valuable than the egg nigiri. And then the most valuable of all the nigiris would be to put squid nigiri in it. So that's worth 3 points, but when it's dipped in wasabi, that's now worth 9 points. I can no longer dip anything else in that wasabi. I have dumplings. So dumplings, well, 1 dumpling is worth 1 point. If I had 2 dumplings, it would be worth 3 points. 3 dumplings, 6 points, and then 10 points and 15 points, depending on how many that I had there at the end of the round. Now the game lasts 3 rounds, so we play 3 complete rounds of this game, scoring each time. Tempura. So tempura is worth no points, but if I had 2 tempura cards down there, then that would be worth 5 points. Similar sort of system for sashimi. So if I had a sashimi down here, that is worth no points. But if I had 2, that's still worth no points. If I had 3 sashimi, I've now got 10 points. Now that's quite hard to achieve in a round, because your fellow players will be trying to stop you getting all the sashimi. So if they can see you're building up on that, they may well play one of the sashimis, even though they don't know it, they don't need it themselves. Then we have these sushi rolls, and we count how many sushi rolls are in the top corner. So this one is 2 sushi rolls. At the end of the round, the person with the most sushi rolls gets 6 points, and the person with the fewest sushi rolls gets 3 points. Anybody else gets nothing. So sushi rolls are not worth points in themselves, but at the end of the round, they might count. So you can choose different strategies throughout the rounds. We then have this special card, Chopsticks. So if I played Chopsticks on the table, so if I put this down on the table on my turn, it scores me no points. But next time I get to play, I can take the Chopsticks back into my hand and instead play 2 cards onto the table instead of 1. So I might play sashimi and add a tempura. So I can play double from the same hand with that. However, at the end of the round, if Chopsticks is the only thing you have left at the end of the game, at the end of the round, then you're going to have to play Chopsticks and it's going to score you nothing. So it can be a bit of a downer to get Chopsticks towards the end of a round. The only other card that comes into play throughout the game is Puddings. Puddings score you nothing, and they are the only cards at the end of the round that stay on the table. So at the end of each round I would take away all the cards that I'd played and I would score them, but the Puddings would remain. At the end of 3 rounds, which is the end of the game, we see who has the most puddings on the table, and they get 6 points, and the person who has the fewest, although it says here least, which is one of my bugbears about people misusing the English language, it says least minus 6 points for the person, so that's the person with the fewest puddings gets minus 6 points. We're going to be scoring using these scoring cards here, which here you would have between 1 and 10. So if I put it on 0 here, that's 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, and so on. I can turn it round to mark 11 points, 12 points, 24, 25, up to the 30, there, 36, and then we can flip it over for even higher counts. So now we're up to 55, and right up to 69, 70 points. So these little scoring cards, I've actually found them very useful. I know other people have said they're quite fiddly because they can get knocked and you can lose track of your score. And that is true, but it's such a light game that I'm not going to worry too much about that. But it's certainly nice to have something in the package where I don't have to grab a pen and paper, and I don't have to have counters. I can just stick these out on the table. And if you're playing on a train or playing in a bar or whatever, whatever you're doing with this portable package, these cards can come in very handy. So I think they're a nice touch. The rulebook is good. It's a simple little document like this, very small, but cute, nicely illustrated, nicely laid out. It's got these cute little cartoons at the bottom, which will just add to the feeling. And all in all, as I say, it's a nice little package. Sushi Go has become one of my most played games this last month or so since I bought it. I can play it with lots of different groups. People who've never played a game before pick it up extremely easily. It's so portable and light. You can just slip it into a coat pocket or into a bag. I've played it in bars. I play it with work colleagues at lunch. Complete non-gamers seem to get a buzz out of this game. The theme works really well. It makes sense, this idea of the sushi going around in a circle and grabbing things off as it goes round. It feels similar to Seven Wonders, but much lighter, much easier to play. There's not the same depth of strategy and that sort of thing in the game. And when you play it with 2 players, it really becomes extremely light, because after the first pass round of the cards, you know what you're dealing with, and then it's trying to make the best of what's available to you. But if you play it with that in mind, it's still an entertaining 10 minutes playing a brief game of Sushi Go with 2. So it's a shame it only goes up to 5. It would be nice to be able to play it with more, but it's a good game. I think it belongs in anybody's collection, really. You don't get much better as a card game filler with very light strategy that you can explain to non-gamers very easily, and great artwork and a lovely little production. So Sushi Go is a good game, well worth picking up.